Welcome, and thank you for your interest in getting to know the Japanese American Confinement Site Consortium, also known as JACSC. In this presentation, we will provide a brief introduction of the consortium, beginning with who we are, including our mission, member organizations, and initiatives. Then we will give an overview of the genesis of the consortium from 2015 until the present day. We will then briefly speak to some of our accomplishments over the years. Part 1. Who we are. The Japanese American Confinement Site Consortium is a collaborative and sustainable network comprised of organizations committed to collectively preserving, protecting, and interpreting the history of the World War II experience of Japanese Americans and elevating the related social justice lessons that inform current issues today. Consortium members include World War II confinement sites, historical organizations, museums, educational institutes, and civil rights organizations. Core organizations have pledged dollars and resources to launching and growing the consortium and serve as an administrative council. They include Friends of Minidoka, Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation, Japanese American Citizens League, Japanese American National Museum, and the National Japanese American Memorial Foundation. Pictured here are just a sampling of the member organizations, including organizations in Washington, California, Montana, Oregon, Illinois, Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, and Washington, D.C. Dozens more organizations and individuals have been engaged with the consortium by attending meetings, amplifying action items, and communicating on our listserv. Our collaborative network is designed to build the capacity of our stakeholder organizations and our own, defend against threats to historic sites, structures, artifacts, and stakeholder organizations, as well as threats to social justice, and advocate for the continuation of the Japanese American Confinement Sites Grant Program and continued protection and education of this important chapter in our nation's history. Part 2. History of the Japanese American Confinement Sites Consortium. The consortium is still a young organization and has steadily moved from a loose network of those with similar missions to a structured professional coalition that is able to quickly take action and respond to threats, voice concerns with a united platform, encourage collaboration and sharing of resources, and establish itself as a capable body of leaders in the fields of history, education, preservation, and advocacy. From the initial gathering in 2015 to discuss a vision for a collaborative network of Japanese American confinement sites and educational organizations, in a few short years we have grown our ranks, established a leadership body, created a charter and membership structure, hired staff, and most importantly, advocated for our stakeholders, responded to threats, and educated the public about the legacy of the World War II Japanese American incarceration and the importance of the sites, stories, and artifacts related to it. While all camp reunions and conferences have occurred in the past, most recently at JANM's 2010 All Camps Preservation Conference, a movement to create a sustainable all-camp organization didn't exist until 2015. The Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation, after collaboration with several other organizations, began seeking support and funding for a consortium of sites related to the Japanese American experience. Many organizations recognized a need to better network and collaborate among themselves to grow capacity. Heart Mountain Wyoming earned funding from the National Park Service's Japanese American Confinement Sites Grant Program to jumpstart the organization of a consortium. The consortium first met at the Heart Mountain Interpretive Center in July 2015. The invitation stated, "All of us in varying degrees and with varying assets have committed to creating broader public awareness of the story of Japanese Americans during World War II. At the heart of this effort is figuring out how, collectively, we engage our efforts and assets for promoting sharper remembrance, encouraging more thorough research, inspiring better education, bringing more visitors to the historic settings of these stories, and creating a deeper understanding of what happened at the confinement camps across the country." In 2016, representatives from all 10 WRA camps and other major stakeholder institutions gathered in Washington, D.C. to share a vision of collaboration for saving, interpreting, and educating the public about this history and these historic sites. It was acknowledged that while informal connections existed between the sites, the distance between them makes it difficult to directly collaborate. While each site was at a different stage in development, they share similar challenges as they labor to preserve the physical confinement sites, structures, and artifacts, as well as the stories of those affected. At the 2016 meeting, members established the framework that we currently are built on, namely, having JACL lead the consortium's advocacy arm, JANM lead the education arm, an advisory committee to sustain ongoing administration and connect with the stakeholders via listserv communications, and a main staff point of contact to serve the consortium. In opening the 2016 consortium meeting in Washington, D.C., Satsuki Ina remarked, "The incarceration was an immeasurable trauma for our communities. One result was a fractured community, and this fracturing was no accident on the part of the perpetrator. The aim of the perpetrator is to divide, as a way to stop dissidents. We have done much to claim our own narrative about our history, yet the divide in our community persists as mistrust and conflict arise as we try to move forward. Difference in opinions is essential to any democratic process, but divisions can also prevent healing. We are at a crossroads. This call for an all-camps consortium demands of us that we move beyond the camp-induced divide. This gathering can mark a new beginning for our collective healing." In 2017, the Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation applied for and received a second National Park Service grant to continue the consortium. Brian Liesinger, former executive director of Heart Mountain Wyoming, who had written both JACSC grants to support the consortium, was hired as the coordinator for the consortium project. 2 significant planning and business meetings were held in February and October of 2018. Members planned more strategic outreach and communication, as well as refining advocacy goals and overall mission. Continued outreach to new organizations allowed the consortium to grow its base. In February, the consortium's major stakeholders signed a memorandum of understanding to establish an administrative council. The council agreed to serve as the guiding body for the consortium going forward. Through the MOU, the council pledged ongoing guidance, funds, and in-kind resources. Advisory Council members established at that time included the Friends of Minidoka, Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation, Japanese American National Museum, and the Japanese American Citizens League. The National Japanese American Memorial Foundation joined the Advisory Council that October. In March of 2018, the President's proposed budget defunded the JACSC grant program. In response, the consortium launched a grassroots advocacy campaign to encourage legislators to protect the program. The effort paid off, and the funding for the program was appropriated. Pictured is the second MOU signing, bringing the National Japanese American Memorial Foundation into the Administrative Council in October of 2018. By signing the MOU, JACL, JANM, Heart Mountain, Friends of Minidoka, and NJAMF expressed their shared enthusiasm, commitment, and responsibilities to the consortium and the logistics that go into running it. These groups have pledged to provide significant resources, staff time, expertise, and convening space. The consortium convened in Washington, D.C. in March 2019 to refine a business plan and create a dues model for sustainability. In addition, stakeholders spent significant time on Capitol Hill educating Congress about the formation of the consortium, its mission, and promoting the continuation of the JACSC grant program. Likely due to successful grassroots action in 2018, Congress increased the funding appropriated to the JACSC grant program for 2020. The consortium also partnered with the JACL to provide workshops at the 90th Annual JACL National Convention in Salt Lake City from July 31st through August 4th. The theme Advocacy, Inclusion, Action was in alignment with the consortium mission, and the consortium track of workshops included a panel discussion of the consortium to the JACL members, addressing family separation at the border, a discussion of intergenerational trauma, best practices in partnering with the National Park Service, and how the grassroots redress movement can guide the consortium moving forward. In January of 2020, Mia Russell was hired to head the consortium in the staff role, which transitioned from coordinator to manager. While COVID-19 necessitated the cancellation of the consortium advocacy days scheduled in Washington, D.C. in March and April of 2020, consortium members continue to work towards finding a long-term solution to the continued authorization and appropriation of the Japanese American Confinement Site Grant Program. The consortium has also been closely engaged this year in the special resource study of Amachi, a congressionally approved investigation into the feasibility of the Amachi site's inclusion as a National Park Service unit. We successfully advocated on behalf of community members for improvements to the times and locations of community outreach meetings scheduled by the Park Service. We continue to follow this process closely and support Amachi stakeholders as needed. This fall will bring our first JACSC educational conference, originally planned for an in-person meeting at JANM, which now will be held virtually in October. Part 3. Accomplishments of the Japanese American Confinement Sites Consortium. Pictured in our nation's capital in February 2019 are representatives from Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation, Japanese American Citizens League, Friends of Minidoka, the National Japanese American Memorial Foundation, and the Japanese American National Museum. Before JACSC stakeholders visited their members of Congress to educate them on the mission of the consortium, JACL Executive Director David Inoue remarked on the common mission of stakeholder organizations. "There are no individual needs," he said. "We have come together and we celebrate these partnerships that make us stronger as a people and stronger as a community." At the March 2019 meeting, members met in Washington, D.C. to work on sustainability of the consortium and to meet with legislators on Capitol Hill. Stakeholders met with members of Congress from 13 states and with key leadership, including Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and Interior Appropriations Chair Representative Betty McCollum. Advocacy meetings serve to cultivate relationships with members of Congress, increase awareness of the Japanese American confinement sites and the work of the consortium and the stakeholders, and lay the groundwork for continued support of the JACSC grant program. We were able to further highlight the importance of learning from the Japanese American experience with a press briefing held at the Capitol with the American Psychological Association, JCL, Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation, Representative Mark Takano, and Secretary Norman Mineta. Among the many accomplishments that individual stakeholders have enjoyed as a result of the last several years of dedicated effort to build a sustained consortium, many can be seen as enhanced collaboration and communication between stakeholders, including in the development of the Contested Histories traveling exhibition and loan of collection items, consortium programming at the JCL National Convention, cross-camp support of pilgrimages and special events, a website and listserv for ongoing communication and networking, and a united platform and voice to address issues and opportunities. Some of our most important accomplishments is the protection of our stakeholders and sites from external threats, including the Tule Lake footprint, the Japanese American presence at the Smithsonian, damage sustained at Amachi from a hailstorm, and support for the Amachi Special Resource Study. As the consortium grows into a stronger and more sustainable organization, we will continue to collaboratively protect and promote the landscape and the overall legacy of the World War II Japanese American experience. We hope you will join us in October for our 2020 Consortium Business Meeting and Virtual Education Conference. This will be held online October 17th and 18th. It is free and open to the public, and our full program will be announced soon via the consortium listserv and on our website. We hope to see you there. If you have any questions about joining the consortium, would like to join our email list and find out about future meetings and action items, please contact me, Mia, at mia@jacsc.org. You can find us online at jacsc.org and on Twitter and Facebook as @JACSC Consortium. Thank you for joining us to get to know more about the Japanese American Confinement Site Consortium, and we look forward to working together towards a common vision.